Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Beauty on a Budget. Today I'm going to show you my apple tree. I mean, it's usually not ready this early. Apples on a tree is never done until about mid-September. Last week, the apples just started falling off on their own. Yesterday, I did so many apples. I got 10 freezer-size Ziploc bags full, and each Ziploc bag has between 20 and 25 apples. During the last week, enough apples had fallen that I did nearly 20 bags. So I've got almost 30 bags of apples in my freezer, and I'm going to show you what has fallen. So this is just one of these regular laundry baskets, and I will show you how many apples have fallen again since yesterday morning. It's just amazing that our tree this year just has so much fruit. Like I said, our tree, we've been here 13 years. The first couple of years we didn't really do anything with the tree, but the last, say, 5 years I've been really doing stuff with the apples, like more than just the kids running up and grabbing apples on their way to school or just eating them, whenever they want. I'm really trying to, utilize the apples. And so, like I said, they're usually not ready till like mid-September, but the last like 2 weeks now, they've just been falling off the tree every day. I'm just getting apples and my tree still looks full. So just 1 second and I will go out and show it to you. So there's all the apples that fell last night, and you can see just how full the tree still is. We haven't had to pick any yet. The tree is just, I don't know, this year would have to be the best year for the amount of apples I am getting. So now I'm just going to pick up all the apples that are on the ground, and I will show you how many I got. So the laundry basket is almost full of just the apples that have been falling. I've been getting like this many like every day for the last week and a half. So I'm just gonna go in the house. I'm gonna show you how I clean them and get them ready for the freezer. Okay, my first step is I'm just gonna rinse out my sink here. I've already scrubbed it with soap, I just didn't show that. Pick up the strainer, put this in. I'm just gonna fill up with not like warm, just kind of like whatever, kind of not cold and not really warm water, just kind of cool water. Pour the apples in. Nice sink full of apples today to work with. Yesterday, like I said, I did 10 freezer-sized bags, but that would have been about 3 or 4 days worth of apples. I just didn't have any time over the weekend, so yesterday being Tuesday, I finally did all the apples. It's not going to take as long today. We'll make sure there's enough water that most of the apples are mostly soaking. And then, oops, don't even have a towel here. And I'm just gonna grab my vinegar. Make sure this is the vinegar and my baking soda. This is something new. I just seen this one. And I will say I've seen people do this, and I don't know if they lie or if it's just the store-bought produce, but I will say doing this, I have not found any bugs crawling out of my apples. I'm just gonna sprinkle baking soda on top. See, I'd like to try this with store-bought produce, which I did buy grapes last night, so I will try it with the grapes and see if it does anything. And then, it's gonna be too hard for me to pour with one hand. Okay, can't reach the 1 cup measure. I'll just use this. I'm just gonna pour about 1 cup or so vinegar. Just pour that over top. some more. I don't really know what the ratio was when I'd seen them do this fruit wash or a berry wash or something, but it's supposed to make your produce last longer and better than trying to buy the store-bought fruit washes. Just banged into all my canning jars. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. There. Get some of the baking soda in here. And like I said, I did this and I was letting them soak for about an hour. And the water got really dirty doing this, my first batch of apples. But like I said, I didn't find any noticeable bugs. Which I thought, because these apples weren't picked, these were the apples that had fallen. So these were on the ground. But also our ground under the apple tree isn't like straight dirt under the tree. We've got the landscape fabric stuff. And then it's got that part of the yard is the landscape fabric and the bark chips. Other spots have the landscape fabric and different types of rocks. Just because that was a garden area. I tried gardening. I never really got anything growing. So I just, instead of, just having weeds grow, like even my flowers, even when I tried to grow flowers, they didn't really grow. So we decided to do the landscaping with the rocks and the bark chips. At any time, we can always just, scoop them aside and make a garden area. But in the spring, I think once we move, I'm going to start doing the raised garden. So I'm already planning for that. But I'm going to let these apples soak for about an hour. So I will be back in an hour and show you the rest of my steps that I do to get these ready to freeze. Okay, welcome back. My apples have been soaking, so they are just, drip drying. They're still a little bit wet. That's okay. So I'll show you what I'm going to be using to bag these. One thing here, I've got this little gadget here. It is called an Amazing Arm. It works really good when you're doing batch making things or filling multiple Ziploc bags. I only have one. My husband said he's gonna look for more. I don't remember where I bought this. I don't have any price tag on here or nothing. I either got this at Showcase or Liquidation Store or something like that. I don't think the dollar store carried it. So I'm thinking I got it from probably Showcase or Bianca's. One of those two, but my husband's gonna look online and see if he can find me any more because they are really good. And I only have one. Now what makes me think that this was not from probably from the Liquidation Store and not the because it doesn't say Showcase on it or As Seen on TV, one of those type of stores. But the packaging is also straight in English. There's no French on here. Living in Canada, packaging must have both English and French. So anytime I find packaging that has no French, I know it was not made for Canadian market. So there is no French on the box. So, but it's really good. I'll show you how it works in a second. The other thing I'll be using is my apple slicer core and a little paring knife and my freezer size Ziploc bags. I couldn't find my smallest Sharpie. All I have is this big fat jumbo marker, so this is what I'm using to label my bags. So I'm just writing what's in here. I am putting apples. I told my daughter when she was helping me do this, I said just label apples because these ones I'm doing are just apples, but sometimes I'll do other fruit or I'll spice them. I'm not doing any spices this time or extra sugar at this moment. This is just gonna be straight apples. So, the date, August 2023. The Sharpie is so fat, I can't get my, and today I think is the 23rd. 23rd or 24, something like that. I'm ready, so I'm going to take my little Ziploc bag, and this amazing arm is so easy, you know, just it's got these little things you just pull up. Oops. I just wish it would hold, I just wish it was a little bit longer. I wonder if they have bigger ones now. I don't know, just because the freezer size Ziploc bags get curved in here and then it's hard to fill. So I have to, you know, kind of do this. But it does make it easier when you're doing batch freezing like I like to do. And then I can, you know, not worry about, you know, trying to hold open the Ziploc bag with one hand and pouring the food in with the other hand, especially going from a pot into the Ziploc bag. Got that ready. I also have this little jar because this year I decided that since this is our last year with these apples that I was going to keep the apple seeds. I don't know if I'm going to get anything. I forgot to grab my strainer. That's what I didn't have out here. I need my strainer for the cores and any pieces that are the chunks of the apple that are not very good. So I'm just going to move the camera down and show you how easy it is to do this. So I just take my apple, I'm just gonna do that. So it's not gonna take long. And also yesterday and today I decided that all my cores and other parts of the apple that are like not the ones that are a little bit more brown or have funny spots, I am going to save separately, and I was going to make my own apple cider vinegar. So I was looking up some recipes yesterday on how to do that. So that's going to be a fun process. It's going to take, I think, about 4 to 6 weeks to actually make your own vinegar. So I'm not doing that right now. Right now we're so busy with, you know, getting ready to move that this is not the time to make my vinegars. But I was looking and it said you can take all your cut pieces and you can just freeze them until you're ready to do that. So I am also going to be doing that. So this is not going to take me long to slice all these apples. The other day I couldn't find my apple core, so I was doing this all by hand. So it was taking me like, I'd say 5 times as long if you have to go and cut every apple. So when I couldn't find this, I was making my apple chunks in 4s. This makes 8. So some of my apples, my first few bags I made, the apples are going to be twice as fat. I wasn't really counting, but I think some of the bags I was getting about 25 apples of the smaller size per bag. And every once in a while it slices like that because the apples are fresh off the tree, so they are not perfectly symmetrical, but that's okay. So if this happens, then that's why I've got the paring knife ready. Just put the seeds in that jar and just cut off any of the core. These apples they're not perfect. They're not like the apples you buy in the store where you can perfectly core these. Some of these apples are just really harder shapes to work with, or the apple himself just kind of slides. I find it harder with the smaller apples. So I still, sometimes if I got like a really small apple like this one, it's gonna be, I'm gonna get about half of this will be cored out. So with an apple like this, then I will still just cut it into the quarters. Because it's it's a smaller apple, so I think that's okay if these ones are a little bit thicker slices. Because usually when I do make anything with this, I'll probably end up making apple sauces or apple butter, which in both those processes I will be using my immersion blender to more puree it anyways. So I'm just going to continue doing this. I've done about half the apples so far. So I'm just going to do this one And then, oh, that was a little harder to get pushed down too. So I'm just gonna pause the film here and continue doing this, and I'll be back in just a few moments. Okay, I just chopped my last apple here, so it's easy to take these off the arms. What I like is it's got this bit of this base, and the bag kind of sits in the arm. So I've had that before where some of the smaller Ziploc bags might slide off as it gets filled, but it's got a nice solid base when it wants to stay stuck to the counter. So this is what I got for apples today off my tree. I mean, they're not as full as my other ones. I've made some of my bags a bit fuller, but I'm not too worried about the fullness of the bags. I'm just freezing these apples and just gonna date them so that I know how many apples I got on each day, as the apples are just falling off my tree. I'm doing my best to get most of the air out. Down. So I got just about, a good 2 freezer-sized Ziploc bags full. I mean, there is enough room. I could get a few more in. I mean, if I was going to, I would have had more in the one bag, but then I would end up with a 1 full bag and one not even half a bag. So I decided to make these both just a little bit smaller bags, but that's okay because I've got other bags that are like really full. Oops, I see a chunk of core that I missed. That's the other thing I do is, so just when they're in the bag, just kind of make sure, because when you're cutting apples fast, you don't want that to be. And now, if I do freeze some of those, when I go to actually make something with the apples, I would see that and I would cut it out at that time. But if I can see it now, I'd rather cut it off now. See, I've got too much air in the bag now. And now I'm just going to do this last one, which is dealing with the apple cores. I'm just going to move this laundry basket out of my way just so I got some more room here, because I'll need both of these. I need this jar here. So now this is going to be the apple cores. So I really wish I could find my smaller Sharpie because it's really hard to write on here. Extra fat. It's not even a real Sharpie. It's just one from the dollar store. It's all I could find. Like I said, here we're packing up, so I'm about 60-70% done packing my whole house. So I could find my Sharpies labeling apples. So I'll use what I can find. So this is easy. I'm just gonna cut these into thirds. So I can get, like where the seed part is, and then I can deal with the seeds after. Cut these up. I don't know if you're supposed to take the stem off, but I guess because once you make your vinegar, you will be straining it anyways. So I think I'm not too worried about that. Just want to get the seeds out because. We'll see. I do know that with most fruit, it's the seeds you have to be careful of. I know there are people who eat the seeds, but I would say be very cautious on that. I mean, apple seeds are really small, but compared to like peach pits and apricot pits, but the seeds do contain arsenic. Arsenic is just naturally found in the ground. So you want to be careful, eating too many seeds because you don't want to get arsenic poisoning, which is why I kind of stayed away from doing, certain types of canning and stuff, like making my own vinegars in the past. I'd seen this, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, making your own vinegars. I tried making one. It didn't work. All I ended up getting was just growing mold. So I decided to just, hold off on that and come back at a later date. I would go, watch more videos. I've got my canning books. I've got some other, scrapping, cooking books that I have borrowed from the library, and got some information on more canning. So I mean, right now I can't do any big canning. I don't have a canning container, whatever the pot would be. This stove I have is a cooktop, and I was at Walmart a couple years ago. I was setting a line because I was taking something back, and I was talking to the lady. She was either in front of me or behind me, and she was returning some canning stuff because she had bought a canning jar, or not jar, the canning pot, so she could do her canning, and then she got home and realized that she can't do that on her cooktop. Based on, like I said, I don't know, it's been a few years, maybe about 2 years or something. I don't shop at Walmart much, so I'm trying to remember when I was last at Walmart and had to return stuff. But she said, yeah, the bottom of the canner pot didn't fit snugly on her cookstop because it's a flat. It had the indentation in the bottom, so it was raised more for the other type of burners, like your, I don't know, the regular burners or the gas burner have your coils, I guess. Yeah, I guess it'd be the coils are a little bit higher, so it's made so the pot fits on the coils, and when it's on a flat surface you don't want that gap. So that was good advice, and she was telling me about some other canning stuff and stuff like what to do and what not to do. So I said, well, that was really good that, you know, I happened to be at Walmart. Sometimes you always say, well, I don't want to be at Walmart. I don't want to do certain things. But I always say, well, why am I here today? And who am I talking to? And what have I learned? You know, kind of a thing. So I just thought it was interesting. All I remember was, it was around Christmas. I bought a Christmas tree. I come home to set up the tree, and it was missing the entire 1/3 of the tree was missing. Like the entire middle section of the tree was missing, and half the stand. That's what I had to take back. Now I remember because it was around Christmas time, before Christmas. So I'm just gonna continue chopping these and getting the seeds out, and then I'll just freeze these, and I'll make the vinegar out of this at a later date. Chopping these into smaller pieces, and I will freeze these. I've got those ones there. I'll just go throw those in my freezer. So I will have, like I said, like if I just do this, a good size half a Ziploc bag of the apple cores that I can use to make my apple vinegar, which, like I said, I will do that after we have moved, because I can't do my there's no point in starting making vinegars right now. They're going to take, I said, between 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm going to end my video there. I just want to say, oh, the camera doesn't want to stay. Okay, I guess I'll just hold it then. Again, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's subscribing to my channels and watching my videos. And I will see you all in my next ones. Bye.